We're good.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee on October 28th. And we'll start off with introductions. As I call your name, just wave at the camera. We've got Brent and Andy.
Hello.
Tim, Sean, Derek, and Karen. We'll assume that was a wave, Karen. And then I am Troy, the chair of PRAC, and I appreciate everyone being with us. First item of business is, of course, our minutes from our September 23rd meeting. Before we entertain a motion on that, are there any questions for clarification or anything on there from any member of PRAC? Okay, if no questions or discussion, we can entertain a motion.
I move to pass the motion. Pass the minutes.
Is it so, Tim? Is that a motion to pass to approve the minutes? Is that what you're asking? Okay,
Yeah.
we have a motion. We have a second.
This is Andy. This is second.
So that's Tim with the motion, Andy with the second. Kendall, you want to pull?
Sure. Tim West,
Hi,
Karen Morey,
you're on mute, Karen.
Go to the next person.
all right. Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Derek Kugel. Andy Crump,
Aye.
Sean Datchler,
Aye.
Brent Haverkamp,
Aye.
and Karen. Did we get you?
She's unmuted. Karen, we cannot hear you if you're saying something. Okay, let's go with the vote we have. She might be having some difficulty. She can chime in here a little bit later if she can.
Okay.
And then we had one member of the public want to share something, but Kendall looks like he did not show. Is that what you're seeing as well?
That is what I'm seeing.
Okay, and just because his name's on the agenda, I think it's only fair to say that was Mike Mitchell, who wanted to talk about Tyrone S. Woods Dog Park. However, he elected not to show and share information with us tonight because he was able to meet or have a discussion with Kendall earlier before the meeting. So he felt it was no longer needed that he show up. So I didn't want to make sure it looked like that, that it shows that he just bailed or something. He actually got his concern resolved. Any other members of the public, Kendall, that have emailed you or otherwise notified you to speak?
No.
Okay, then is John Lewis with us?
John Lewis could not make it. He had an emergency, but Denise Conrad will be filling in for
Okay.
him for his presentation.
Okay, so Denise Conrad, you are up with the First Street facility update.
Good evening, everyone. Kendall's going to share screens with you. I have country Wi-Fi, and sometimes I sound like a robot when I try and do these things. So bear with us.
Can everyone see?
Yes.
Yeah,
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead and go to the next screen if you would. So this is just the agenda that John put together, and we'll be going through this from starting with the project overview in the next slide. So the First Street property used to be General Distributor's old building and warehouse, and the city of Oregon City purchased that property. The divisions that are moving over into that property are going to be the Public Works Operations, He has community services operations, which is actually park maintenance, and our facilities division will be moving over into that facility. Then Public Works Engineering, which is currently in City Hall, will move over there. And GIS and Information Systems, which is also in City Hall, will move over into this building. The project team has been John Lewis, who is the Director for Public Works, Vance Walker, who's the Assistant Public Works Director, myself, and then Frank O'Donnell has been on the project team as well, our City Commissioner. The design team has been with Plan B Consultants, which is our project owners representatives, Scott Edwards Architecture, and Emmerich Construction, which is the CMGC, the contractor that's building this. So I know you guys have seen a few of the update pictures on some of our reports, but just kind of going through some of these project time periods. April, we did a lot of the structural framing interiorly. This is a seismically structured facility. In May, they got the roof completed and dried in. Kind of that June and July period, they were working on the interior walls. MEP is your mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. And then August, we got the storefronts and the windows inlaid. And those storefronts would be your glass front doors on the exterior. August and September, they started getting interior doors and the elevator started. We did have a little bit of a hiccup with the elevator with, obviously we have COVID and then we have some supply chain issues. So we did have a few hiccups along the way with that. September, they started the finishes with inside, which would be the paint, a lot of your casework, lights, grills, some of the finish type work. Go ahead, Kendall. These are some construction progress photos. The framing would be your March 2021 photo, and that's the second floor interior install. So kind of your floor joisting. And then August, the second floor install, he's showing the elevator shaft, which would be actually, that green wall is not the elevator shaft, but if you look across the way, that would be the elevator shaft. And then the second floor, you can see the interior glazing, which is the windows, and the drywall finishes. Go ahead, Kendall.
Oh, cool.
So the August, September photo there is the fleet shop, and that's kind of the upstairs mezzanine where you see the railings across the top. And then underneath that, now we have some cabinetry in there as well. And then that big wide opening would be a roll-up door. And same for that next photo, you're seeing the steel framing of the warehouse, and then you'll see another big opening, that'll be a roll-up door as well. And then the September 21 steel carport install, those are the frameworks for that open carport area. So it has a roof on top of it now, on top of those posts and beams. And then on top of the roof are solar arrays. Go ahead, Kendall, thank you. Right there, you're seeing on the far left, that's the site paving. And then we had electrical install, which is a huge thing to have the PG vaults installed and then get power to the building. And then you're also seeing on the far right, the new flagpole install. So to your left, that is the carpet finishes. Those are square tiles that are laid with a bit of glue. And so it's very easy for us in facilities to replace them if need be. This is more of an industrial chic kind of looking building where we have a lot of the ducting and mechanicals that are exposed. And then on the far right, you're looking at the mechanical ducting on the ceilings. And then we have reused from the old police station, their lockers. So we did a little bit of reuse there.
Wow, that's cool.
Far left, you're seeing kind of our casework install, which started about September and is finishing out currently. And then the September, oops, sorry,
Sorry, got a little excited.
that's all right. The elevator install, so that's your framework and the shaft. And the pulley systems in there, some mechanicals for the elevator. And then the landscape has been installed. They're finishing up some of the back corner currently. As of Wednesday, we were out there and some of that was just almost finished. So they're very, very close on most of the stuff to being finished. Go ahead. So you are looking at the lobby on the far left, and that front desk shape is coming along. On Wednesday, that kind of mid-tone brown is actually a dark, it's like a dark brownish, almost like a rusty metal look tile. And then there will be some hard steel in the front where the plywood looking area is. And then the middle photo is wallpaper or vinyl covering on the elevator shaft. And that's kind of a grayscale of the road system or a map. And then you can see the stairway and the railings going up to the second level. And then the far right picture is where our fleet shop is. So you saw the interior with the mezzanine and the stairway. If you look through the double doors, you can see that again. And then those two big openings will be roll-up doors. So as of right now on the project timelines, we are, sorry, I'm trying to read it myself. I'm doing this on the fly if you guys can't tell. So that's actually a timeline showing kind of our construction timeline from design all the way to the end of construction. And so where we currently are, we are on time per this timeline schedule and on budget. So if you look at that next slide, that shows you kind of where we're at on the budget. So the construction GMP, which is our guaranteed maximum pricing, was 10.18 million. The professional services is 1.5 million. Your professional services are going to be your engineers, your architect, project management, civil, and structural engineers. And then we have permits and fees that we have to pay even as a city entity. And then the third-party contracts are things like we did owner contracts, the owner being the city. We have things like appliances and furnishings and security access, those types of things that are third-party contracts at the 600,000. Next slide. So these dates are slightly fluid yet. November 5th, we're looking for our occupancy certificate. That hinges on a few things like our elevator inspection and some of those types of things. And the elevator inspection is through the state. So we have yet to get our actual date for the inspection. So that is still a little bit fluid. We've started some of the punch list items already. And I know the contractor's been going through. So punch list is when you walk through a building and you see there's nicks and dents in the wall or the paint's needing to be touched up. Maybe a vent is in the wrong place or, lighting needs to be adjusted slightly. Those would be our punch list items. So, and then our IT department division is going to be going in the week of the 12th through the 15th and setting up computers and getting all the wiring done for our phones and making sure that when everybody moves in, they can be up and running as soon as they get there. And then they haven't set a date, but I believe December they are doing a building dedication. In what format that would be, we're still kind of looking at obviously COVID issues. So I'm assuming there'll be a mixture of how that's going to occur, but more information to come from that. And at that point, if you have questions, I would be happy to answer as many as I can. I see Karen and Brent.
Yeah, Denise, thank you very, very much. Brent, why don't you go ahead and go first?
All righty. So great presentation, Denise. Thank you very much. Basically, I have two questions. I love hearing that there's solar power and panels. I also love how you reused the old OCPD lockers. Is the building going to be any type of environmental certified, like a LEED certification or anything?
Not LEED certified, but we are looking at sustainable products. It's metal siding that, and obviously it's, there are some reuse factors in this building that we didn't tear it down and start over. So
Good.
a lot of what you see, we've LED lighting. So we're using a lot of the same elements you would see in some LEED standard buildings, but obviously LEED standard costs money as well. So trying to stay within our budget to do that. So the certification itself for LEED is a financial impact as well. So I don't know exactly why we did or did not do LEED. That part wasn't kind of up to me, but we definitely have done a lot of reuse, a lot of sustainable. It's concrete, tilt building, metal siding. We did metal siding on the tilt building. We're using really large windows that bring in a lot more light. And then of course you have the different occupancies, sensors that turn lights on and off when places aren't being utilized. So a lot of the factors and sustainability of LEED is within this.
Okay, great. Second question, and this is really a curiosity because I know that hiring consultants is not cheap and it's more of a cash saving idea. But I was wondering, does the city of Oregon City have any project managers that they could have used instead of hiring a consultancy agency like Point B?
Plan B, no, we don't have true project managers in
Okay.
terms of a building of this magnitude. So no, nothing of this magnitude do we have actual project managers for.
Okay. All right. Thank
And
you.
Denise is being humble. She has been the project manager for several facilities and parks and has been heavily involved in this project, and it couldn't have been completed without her help, so.
Awesome, Denise.
That's kind of you to say, Kendall, thank you. We do, within the project team, there are elements that I am very well equipped to manage, but there are things that are just, you know, it's a full-time job to do a building of this magnitude with this many moving parts. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Karen, you have a couple questions or comments? Karen, you're muted. And if you're talking, we cannot hear you. So Karen, we can't hear you.
Maybe you could put it on chat and then we can answer it as we go.
We don't have chat enabled for this
Oh,
because it's public
gotcha.
as well.
Gotcha.
All right, and Karen, if we'd like to hear you, but we can't, so just chime in if you get your situation fixed there.
I think she's logging back on right now to see if
Oh, is
she
she?
can. Yeah,
Okay, yeah, okay, we'll give her a second here. All right, Karen, can you hear us now?
Okay, got it.
Yeah, you're good. But you're
Thank
gonna,
you.
you got a little bit of feedback there. You're gonna want to disconnect your other prior
Sorry.
connection.
Gee, Troy, you think? Yes, give me a second here.
Sometimes muting it works if you can't.
Usually my
log off.
Chromebook works, but it's not cooperating tonight. All right, I want to second everything Kendall just said wonderful about Denise.
Thank you, Karen.
And okay, I was familiar with that building when it was General Distributing. And I've seen two of John's presentations and you did a wonderful job. This is an incredible improvement because when that property was purchased, I wasn't quite sure how that little atrocious snout of offices was ever going to work, but this is beautiful. But it leaves me with a park-specific question. We have a condemned garage and I'm going to be nice and say shed that has room for some equipment. And then I think, isn't most of our mowers, you name it, stored down at the reservoir down Holmes?
Yeah, it's at the Mountain View Reservoir. We have them over there. And then the shop that is red tagged is budgeted to be demoed this biennium.
Okay, but are any of those going to be able to move into the new formerly warehouse space? Or is that going to all be needed for public works?
No, everybody has a space within the warehouse. There are some areas that are parking available, and then there are storage areas and racking. John and I walked his area, and we think we might be able to get the mowers in. We don't have all of our racking in that we would like to have in, but that does leave us the opportunity to maybe move the mowers inside. So we're still, it's a fluid plan at this point, because obviously once everything's dialed in, your space either looks bigger or smaller, depending on what your perception is when you start.
Yeah, no question. Done that every time I've moved. But thank you very much. That was my question.
You're welcome. And I do apologize for babysitting a 6-month-old puppy, and he just decided to bark. So I'll be muting and unmuting.
Sean, go ahead.
Just a quick question relating to equity between the two departments. Based on how much the Parks Department put into the project, is the space that they actually got in the end equitable versus Public Works?
So yeah, we have the same size crew rooms and offices as every other division crew room. So our park maintenance got the same type of crew room. Obviously, there's interior spaces and exterior spaces within the building where some people get windows and some people don't. We ended up with an interior crew room. So no exterior windows on our crew room. But I think our guys will be happy to have a well-functioning space, offices that are equipped. Then we also have the shared locker rooms, dry rooms for boots, jackets, and that kind of stuff, washroom, and then there's a giant staff area. So there's commingled spaces as well as section division spaces. And same for facilities. We currently have 2 FTEs in our facilities division, but we have room within the facilities workspace to add another person in the future.
And then follow on to that. What about on the financial side of it, based on how much that, I think that was where I was really looking at from a standpoint of, if we put in 1/3 of the cost, are we utilizing roughly 1/3 of the facility? Or is, for example, Public Works taking 80% of the facility, but we financed 1/3 of it? That's kind of where my question was going.
Kendall, do you want to talk about that?
Well, in regards to how much money we put in versus how much space we have, we understand that this is going to be a tough transition for us moving from the cemetery into this new space. Obviously, majority of the money that was put in, it's coming from Public Works funds. So we believe that the space will be something that will take some time to transition into. But long-term, we're still going to have to continue to pursue opportunities at our cemetery for storage and other amenities that we'll need long-term. We know it won't be a long-term solution to some of the issues that we're dealing with in parks.
All right, thank you.
I actually put my hand back up for something.
I guess I was talking, but you weren't hearing me because I was muted. So I thought it was all on your end. So Tim, go ahead and share or ask questions whenever you got.
Okay, Karen, I wanted to recognize you and congratulate you on your honor for the American Revolution Daughters there, being the local historian in Oregon City. So it sounds like a very nice award for you.
Thank you, Tim.
You bet. So in regards to the facility in Oregon City, on Center Street, the maintenance department is moving out of there. Is the Parks Department going to take advantage of any of that space? Because as of now, it sounds like the city doesn't have any plans to do anything else but store gravel and salt and store stuff in that space.
As far as I know, Public Works is utilizing that space, and we don't necessarily have any other storage spaces besides what we currently have and the new warehouse space. So no, we don't intend to at this point, but we do work closely with Public Works, and some of what they use, we use. We do a little tit for tat when it comes to cooperative resourcing.
Okay, thank you.
Tim, thank you. Karen, you said you had another question?
Just quick, I love Sean's question, and I agree that we need equity for what we're putting into this. However, for anybody who's had the joy of touring the existing Public Works facilities, at least they have a building where you don't go through a hobbit hole to get to your office. There is one roughly 4-foot high gap that you use to get from one office space to another. And I'm looking forward to them not having to deal with the hobbit hole.
And you're correct. They will not have a hobbit hole in the new space. However, there is expanded area that we did not construct that can be for future construction and workspace. And so the second floor is not fully built out. That second floor has the opportunity to expand it at some future point still.
And hopefully you won't put in a hobbit hole.
Well, there's currently a pass through, but that would be my hobbit hole or Ann or Seth. So nobody else will have to pass through it but us. We expect it.
Okay.
Okay, any other questions before we let Denise close? All right, Denise, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're now going to hear about the Filbert Run Park Naming Committee update from Brent Haberkamp.
Hold on, get my video back on. All right. Good evening, everybody. And I'm going to be looking at my notes. So really, long story short, this was a great group of people to work with. Really enjoyed it. We had a very short timeline to come together and come up with a name. So long story short, basically we got together, the team met, I think it was a total of 4 or 5 times. We reached out to the public through a variety of means, including postings on the city website, Facebook and Instagram, in the OC newsletter that reaches 12,000 residents. A flyer was sent out to the CIC and all neighborhood association chairs. A letter was submitted to the Oregon City newspaper, Pamplin Media, and a direct mailer postcard was sent to 164 neighbors of the park up there near the old Filbert Run named park. So basically the timeline and important dates are the online survey went live on September 14th, closed on October 8th. Mailers were sent between September 20th and 24th. And after everything was sent, mailed, survey closed. The committee met on October 12th to finalize the name. So long story, sorry, we're kind of repeating myself here. There were 52 names submitted, and of those, 27 suggestions were a variation of a Filbert Run, quote unquote, Hazelnut or Hazel Grove. And 56.86%, or roughly 57%, were from the Hazel Grove Westling Farm neighborhood. So you had a good community input from that neighborhood in terms of naming the park. Any questions so far? Okay, I'll continue. So basically we met on October 12th to vet the suggestions. We first eliminated the names that did not fall under the naming parameters. There were a lot of different goofball names. And we based on our naming parameters that we set forth to the public for naming a park. After names that did not meet the parameters, these were eliminated, and the group discussion focused on the importance of incorporating the suggestions made around Filbert Run, Hazelnut, and Hazel Grove, the predominant names gathered from the survey. So after a lot of chat and a lot of talk, there was a strong committee consensus to name the newly developed park Hazel Grove Park. So one of the reasons why is we felt it honored the neighborhood and their wishes. I am going to point out that we had a neighbor come to the naming convention meeting. Somebody wanted to name it Hazel Grove Community Park, and he was just like, no, we don't want to name it community. And we were just like, why not? It honors the community and everything. He goes, look, really the community did not come together with this park. After we got one initial dumpster in there, a lot of people just abandoned it. And so we heard him out, and we were just like, okay, we'll instead, how does Hazel Grove Park work with you? And he goes, that would be great. So we are going to be meeting again as a committee on November 3rd to review the naming convention, and then we will be presenting to the city commission in the December 1st meeting. Rochelle got it on the agenda, but we do want PrAC to have its approval so we can move forward with the city commission and say this is a PrAC approved name of Hazel Grove Park.
So Brent, and we'll take questions and comments here in a minute, but I just want to make sure I'm clear. Are you asking us tonight to approve that name?
Well, I know that you wanted a review and an update, and I believe that, as we go forward to the city commission, we can say, yeah, we are the naming committee, but I think it would be a stronger consensus if it came from PrAC.
No, and I agree with that. My question, in fact, I think that's actually the way the process is. But my question, are you asking for that tonight?
Not necessarily if we don't name it. I am going to say this name is not up for debate, and we're not going to go back to the naming convention because this is the name that we're presenting to the city committee.
Okay, so that's fair. So let me ask it this way then, just so I understand. You're meeting again November 3rd, but on that meeting, you're not planning on having another vote or changing it, or it's like you say, it's decided now.
Correct.
And so now would be the appropriate time then to get a consensus from us.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. Karen, you had your hand up. Do you have questions, comments for Brent?
No, I do, but I think, okay, the unofficial historian for this city, I can't tell you anything overly significant about that area other than, oh yeah, a filbert orchard. And nobody in Oregon can figure out if it's a hazelnut or a filbert. Since all the streets up there are named Hazel something, I think you have a brilliant idea. I think that is the best idea you could have come up with. And I would be happy to make a motion to approve that from PrAC as the proposed name, depending on where the rest of the discussion goes tonight.
Thank you,
So
Karen.
Karen, are you making the motion, or you say you're willing to when we get to that point? You're muted, Karen. I don't know if she's having issues again. I didn't hear a motion. I just heard I'm willing to,
Sorry,
Okay.
my finger's hitting the wrong things.
okay.
Clarify for me Hazel Grove Park?
Yes, Hazel Grove Park.
All right,
And so-
I move that Pratt support the naming of what has been known as Filbert Run Park as Hazel Grove Park as a permanent name.
This is Andy. I second.
Okay, Kendall?
Tim West.
Are we get, wait,
Oh,
point of order here.
I'm
it
sorry.
looks like
I'm
Sean
sorry.
has a question.
Sean,
Sorry, Sean.
No, that
Sean,
opens for
I
discussion,
apologize.
Kendall.
I apologize, Sean. I saw your hand. I was gonna call on you and I just got out of order. So 100% my fault. Sean, please, this is the time for discussion. And Sean, please go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment and a question. Brent, if you can kind of explain the November meeting, then I'm a little uncertain, like from a point of process, why are you meeting again then?
We're meeting again because the whole entire committee agreed to come to the committee or to the December 1st meeting to present it. And we're getting together to look at the staff report that's going out and to just review the name. But there's going to be no decision. I mean, it's already decided and voted upon.
Gotcha. So more of a technical kind of technicality smoothing.
It's more of like
Okay.
a planning on who will present and that type of thing.
Okay, then I would just make one comment in this time period relating to the process that's already occurred. I was very disappointed with one piece of it, and that was the fact that it was put out publicly that this was a renaming, because that was absolutely inaccurate. And I think it was on the naming committee to own that mistake. But at the end of the day, I would support what they've come up with.
Thank you.
And I will second what Sean said. I mean, for some, it may seem insignificant semantics, but I do think it's a big deal that it's naming and not renaming. I know I saw some public comments about why are we renaming it? What's wrong with the name it has? And so that may have potentially, I don't know, I don't have any data, but potentially, it discouraged some people from participating or voting, thinking, I don't want it changed, I'm going to leave it alone. So I don't know that I haven't gotten that feedback, but just something I think is worth noting.
Okay.
And then the other comment I have is, Brent, just to clarify, if I think how you answered Sean's question was, you guys are going to get together and decide who's going to make the presentation and to City Commission. Is that what you're talking about?
Correct.
Okay. And Kendall and Sean, jump in here and correct me if I'm wrong. The committee, the naming committee is an appointment and a function of PrAC by way of policy. And then I believe PrAC, the way it's written, and I'd have to look it up, but I believe what's written is then it gets consensus from PrAC and then gets moved on to the City Commission. So I would strongly, and I can't emphasize that enough, strongly encourage Brent, you make the presentation to City Commission as the committee chair, and as the committee chair of the naming committee and the representative of PrAC. I think that is most appropriate.
Understood.
Is there anyone that has a different opinion of that, of just that piece? Okay, strongly encourage, Brent. Any other discussion, comments, questions?
Consider it done.
All right, Kendall, I think we're ready for a vote now.
All right. Tim West,
Aye.
Karen Morey,
Aye.
Troy Bollinger,
Aye.
Derek Kugel,
Aye.
Andy Crump,
Aye.
Sean Datchler,
Aye.
Brent Haverkamp.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Well, there you go. Nice job, Brent and team. I think the process was short, concise, and smooth, which is always desirable. So it seems like everyone's fairly happy with the selection. So, Brent, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to give a shout out to the naming committee. They were a great bunch of people to work with. Meetings went pretty smooth. Some people would go on tangents, but overall, it was a great committee to work with. Really need to give a shout out to Rochelle. Deeply missed. She was absolutely essential for the outcome of and for this group to come to consensus. So great job by Rochelle. Great job by this team.
Perfect. Good. Next item on the agenda.
Troy, I had my hand up for one more
Oh,
comment on
I'm
that.
sorry. Your background there is almost the same color as your hand, so I don't quite see it, but yes, go ahead.
My apologies. I just wanted to mention also, Brent, that it wasn't discussed tonight, but I know it was your intent to do this. So it's probably good to mention it when you go to commission, is talk about the representation in that committee, because to demonstrate equity around is really important in this.
You bet, Sean. Thank you for that piece of advice. That will be taken to the commission on December 1st.
All right. So moving along, we've got the vote to remove Filbert Run Park naming process from Pratt Goals. And I'd like to change that a little bit, but of course I want to stay true to the agenda. And the reason is I've thought about this as we've put this on the agenda the last few days. I thought about this. We have not, for any of our other goals, we have not removed anything from the goals. We have simply marked it as complete. So I think that would be, in this case, and it's just a little change of wording on the agenda, and it's my fault. It wasn't an error on staff's fault. It was, I brought this up, and so it's my fault. But I think more appropriate would be a consensus to mark the naming committee as complete, and not remove anything from the goals until we review them in January, and therefore remove everything that's applicable at that time. So can I get a nod or a no if on the feeling of just changing the agenda item to not removing it, but modifying it, marking it complete? We okay on there? All right. And then is everyone in agreement that we can and should mark it complete? Kendall, I don't believe we need a vote on that, just a consensus. I think we have it. We'll go ahead and mark that complete, and we'll address the goals of the first of the year in their entirety.
Cool.
Kendall, we're going to turn it over to you for PrAC committee member selection process change.
Yes. So earlier this month, I sent out an email to all of the PrAC committee members, email from the mayor on behalf of the mayor about the new changes that are being made in regards to boards and committees in the selection process. So with the new changes, the selection process and the selection committee will include the mayor, the chairperson, the vice chairperson, and the department director. And at the discretion of the mayor, an additional city commissioner may be asked to participate. And then the selection committee will also determine the interview questions and then meet with the candidates, and then we'll make an appointment based on the input received. So I just wanted to bring that to the PrAC committee to make them aware of this change before we started the process of scheduling the applicants that we have for the vacant positions we have. Are there any questions, concerns, or anything that you'd like to bring to my attention, or any comments that you have about this process moving forward?
Looks like everyone's good. Question I have, Kendall, is who's going to initiate that process? Is that my responsibility? Is it yours, or is it the mayor's? The process is the piece of figuring out the questions, before the scheduling happens.
In my plan was to present the mayor with the questions that we had already developed for the interview process, and submitting those to the mayor. Obviously, you and I and Sean can get together and talk about any questions or any modifications you want to make and submit to the mayor. And we can present that information to the mayor to kind of solidify what those interview questions are going to be moving forward before we schedule the interviews.
Okay, good. So that's, I just want to make sure that it wasn't, falling on me without knowing it or something. So if you're going to initiate that, that's fine. Would you email those questions to Sean and me, and we can start that discussion? We can take a look at them and just shoot back our thoughts on them before they go to the mayor.
Sure.
Okay, any other questions about that process? All right, Kendall, why don't you go forward with your introduction?
It's my pleasure to introduce our new administrative assistant for our Parks and Recreation Department, Justin Moore. Justin started with us on October 11th. We're very excited about having him be a part of the team, and I just wanted to give him the opportunity to introduce himself and to be available for any questions. So Justin.
Good evening, everyone. It's great to meet you, even if it is virtually, and I'm excited to get to work with all of you. A little background on me. I grew up in Northwest Montana, and then our family moved out here to Corvallis in 2008, and I went to school for speech communication at Oregon State University. And go Beavs. Then in last October, my partner and I, we had moved up to the Clackamas area, and I had worked for UCP Mentors, which is an organization that works with adults and disabilities. But I realized my heart still lied with recreation, as I worked in the recreation field as a program assistant with Corvallis Parks and Recreation for 8 years prior to moving up. And so I found this opportunity to come work with Kendall and all of you, and here we are.
Well, thank you, Justin. Good to have you. After any presentation, we always have time for questions and comments. So any questions or comments, and even the Go Beavs is open for discussion. No, I'm seeing none. So Justin, looks like Sean has a question. No, we're good. Oh, that's a clap. All right. Well, so Justin, if they have any disregard for your comment, they're keeping it to themselves. I think you're all right.
That's okay. I can take it if you do.
All right. Our next PrAC meeting, normally we do these once a month. However, it is tradition that because November meeting would fall on Thanksgiving, and December meeting falls right around the holidays as well, typically, that we have done a meeting at the beginning of December and in place of the third week of November and December. So just want to get a consensus. That would be, by the way, December, was it 2nd? Hang on, let me just look to be sure I'm right. Yes, December 2nd. That's when that would fall. Still a Thursday, still 7 o'clock. And that's been our tradition. So is everyone still okay with that? Or are there any objection to doing that this year? No, we're good. Okay, Kendall, we're good on that schedule change.
All right.
And Kendall, it's up to you for staff reports.
All right. We've had a lot going on. First and foremost, you guys are aware of Rochelle moving on to become Sandy's Park and Recreation Director. We were able to say goodbye to Rochelle this past Monday, and we wish her the best. Melissa Sebastian will be the acting interim manager for the Aquatics and Recreation Department moving forward as we continue to recruit for that position. The other thing I'd like to comment on is many of you probably saw the article that came out just recently about ODOT and the I-205 expansion and the condemnation that is moving forward. The condemnation was filed, which allows ODOT property rights needed to proceed with the bridge project. So something that I wanted to clarify about the ODOT's condemnation is that Oregon City's negotiations with Sportscraft landing license negotiations have no impact on that project. and the condemnation was necessary so they could move forward with the project and the project would not be hindered. The other thing that I like to comment on is that the negotiations between Sportscraft Landing and the Dye family and Oregon City are still ongoing, so I can't provide a lot of comment. Those negotiations are happening with our city attorney, and we're working with the city commission as well. We hope to wrap up these negotiations as quickly as possible, but I just also wanted to reiterate that it's our obligation as a city to receive fair market value for any property that we have. We did do an appraisal of that property, and moving forward, we're negotiating in good faith. So those negotiations are ongoing. And once those negotiations wrap up, I hope to provide some additional updates on that moving forward. The other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention, the Clackamas Park boat ramp. We just recently had an inspection done on the boat ramp. We hired West Consultants to do a dive inspection on the boat ramp. Currently, the boat ramp remains closed to vehicles, trailers, and boats, but pedestrians with non-motorized watercraft may enter the side and walk down the ramp and utilize the ramp. We're waiting for recommendations and a memo from the consultant and the structural engineer on the repairs that need to happen to the boat ramp. But on that topic as well, we just recently put out a RFP for a master plan for Clackamas Park. And with that RFP going out, our hope is to get public engagement to address the long-term development of that property, to address some of the issues with the boat ramp, to engage with the stakeholders, with the Marine Board, and also address the future of the RV park and what that's going to look like moving forward. The plan is to bring that information back to PRAC and the City Commission at a later date to hopefully solidify the plan for the Clackamas Park, so the City Commission could then make a decision on the long-term placement of the boat ramp moving forward. So I just wanted to bring that to everyone's attention. We hope to receive proposals for that RFP by November 5th of next month. The other thing that I like to also bring to your attention is we are currently working on putting out our RFP for our parks master plan. That will be going out next month. And Filbert Run Park, the development of that park is moving forward. We have a few delays in regards to the lighting and playground equipment, but we're hoping to get that part completed hopefully sometime in January. Any questions? Looks like we have a lot of hands.
Karen, you want to go first?
Yep, at Kendall, after I talked to you earlier today, I finally got my copy of the Oregon City News. I have an oddball question. There's a comment about Sportcraft owning property at that site between low water and high water and what's park. You probably don't have this off the top of your head, but do they physically own anything other than what's floating on top of the water?
They do have a strip of property that they own that's between our property and ODOT property, where they have rights to that piece of property. But that's also being discussed during the negotiations with their attorney.
Okay, that surprised me. So thank you.
Sean.
Two questions also related to that, Kendall. Is the condemnation city-owned property one? Specifically, is it park-owned property? And then I'll follow up with my second.
So the condemnation of the property is park-owned property.
Okay, and then my follow-up ODOT has presented to PrAC several times. I don't recall them ever mentioning the need for acquisition like that. So is this a new topic that's come up through recent design changes that they've never presented, or did they simply try to mislead us in previous, well, you can't answer that part. But, I think you might get my drift.
Yes, and ODOT has been a good partner. We've been working with them directly during this process. It was a step that they needed to take in order to continue to move forward with the project, to get access to the property during the timeline that they had. So this was an advantageous way for them to kind of move that project forward and not have it held up due to other circumstances.
I guess what I'm asking is, when they presented us and showed us those maps, this piece of property or this issue wasn't brought up. So did something change that triggered that?
Nothing changed on our end in regards to the project or the timeline. But some of the things that they needed to fall into place just didn't fall into place in accordance with their timeline. So that's why these measures had to be taken.
Okay. And so then just one final question. So to clarify, this is a piece of parkland, city park. Is it designated as a park?
So
Can somebody
you're-
mute, please?
So you're referring to Sportscraft Landing?
All of my questions relate to the piece of land that ODOT is attempting to condemn.
So they will be utilizing parts of John Storm's parking lot for lay down in Sportscraft Landing property.
That's
But you're referring to the Sportscraft Landing property needing to move forward with condemnation so the project can move forward.
you call it Sportcraft Landing, but I guess that's my question. Is ODOT, are they condemning a piece of City of Oregon City owned, specifically parkland property?
Yes.
Okay. This is not the Dyes property that they own. It's not something that Oregon City leases from somebody else.
So let me bring this all back together. So they need access to the water. And so they're going to have to make some modifications to this property, to the Dye family's property, in order to continue on with this project. Now we have rights we're leasing that property to the Dye family. So in order for them to move this project forward and to get done what they need done, they'll need access to not just our property, but they'll need to do some modifications to the Dye family's property as well. Does that make sense?
I believe it does. And I think you actually triggered the answer I was not sure I was going to get. So I'm going to restate what I think is what I think I was going for there. So the Sportcraft property, we never went through the charter issue.
It's not a charter park.
It's not a charter park. So if ODOT attempts to do this, we don't have to go to a vote of the citizens to approve this like we would with John Storm or other parks. Is that true?
My understanding is that they already went to a vote of the people in order to make these changes, correct?
No, the vote that went to the people was to approve a temporary use of the park. It was my understanding. And so my point is, if they now want to condemn permanently, that by city charter may have to go to a vote of the people. Unless I'm missing something.
Okay,
See a lot of
Troy,
heads
can
kind
I
of-
chime in?
Let's hang on, Karen.
I think I
hang
can
on.
answer part of
Okay, but
this.
hang on, Karen. Karen, order. So Sean, did you get what you were looking for?
Yeah, I did. And honestly, I think if Karen can contribute, it's a great discussion that I'm very concerned about, and it doesn't deal with the legal side of it.
So my understanding is they already have permission to do this project. That went to a vote of the people, and that incorporates them moving forward with doing this condemnation of the property so they can continue to do the project. My understanding is they already have permission to do that.
No, Kendall,
So Sean, are you disputing that piece, or are you on an agreement?
Well, I can't tonight. That's the part that
Okay.
I would have to go back and look at the actual wording of the vote. I thought all the wording of the vote was for construction, not for a permanent. Well, there was an underwater element, yes. Unless this is on land.
no, and I can clarify, guys.
Okay.
Karen,
Kendall,
go ahead.
Kendall, this is before your time. This is a Phil Lewis thing. He was trying to get us to put every park into charter park status. And I will say I was the primary opponent to Sportcraft being changed over to a charter park because of the existing commercial lease.
Karen, can you
So-
hold on? Karen, can you hold on just a second? On my screen, it looks like we lost Kendall. Is Kendall still here?
I see him just fine.
I'm here.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. All right, there you are. Okay, I just want to make sure we didn't lose somebody. Go ahead, Karen.
All right, so Sportcraft was never put into the commission vote to make it a charter park due to the existing commercial lease. Up
Karen,
to
you're
the
muted.
voters to allow construction of 30 feet above John Storm Park. Apparently impinged on a city park, and we had to have a vote of the public. The John Storm side of the park was approved by the voters. The Sportcraft side of the park has not gone to the voters. It is not a charter park, so we're free to do whatever we want with that property at this point. And that's kind of where we are. So you're one side of the bridge or the other side of the bridge right now are two different creatures. John Storm's fine. They can put stuff in there. They can build. They can do whatever they want. Sportcraft side, nothing was agreed, but it is also not a charter park. So the city is free to make whatever use they want of that property without a vote. Sean, did that answer what you were remembering?
Yeah, and that sounds like exactly what I remembered. The trouble I was having is no one had defined where the condemned piece of land was, whether it was the John Storm side, around the ramp, underneath the Dyes property. I didn't quite get the actual location of this parkland that was being disputed.
It's the Sportscraft, and it's the Dye property where they're going to need access in order to move forward with the construction.
Yeah, which is now a previously leased commercial lease on parkland that we did not make a charter park, which gives you more latitude.
Yeah, and I agree with you, Karen. We specifically tried not to put that land under charter protection because we thought it might prevent the lease even in the first place.
Correct.
I do remember having that discussion as well, specifically about the charter piece. Okay. Tim, you had some comments or questions?
Yes, I do. Thank you. So I have two questions. One is in regards to the ODOT property that we've been talking about here. Since they agreed to a temporary staging ground on the John Storm side, this is so on the north side, is this also temporary, or what happens after the 4 years that it takes to go ahead and enlarge the highway? I mean, what happens after that?
So your concern is that it may take longer for them to get.
No. I'm saying is this a property ownership change that goes
No,
to them? Or is it
it's
just
not a property ownership change. They're to return the property back to us in its
Okay.
in its current condition.
All right, so
So
it's just a staging issue. That's fine. All right, my other question goes in regards to Clackamas Park and the boat ramp. And you got to think beyond the Clackamas Park because it took the high water event that moved the sandbar in front of the cove way out and around to push it back towards the boat ramp that made this water hit it so hard that it's actually impossible to launch a boat. So it's really the gravel bar that is what, 25, 50 yards upriver of that boat ramp that's causing the problem. So instead of taking bids on the Clackamas Park improvement, it's not that. I mean, that's not the park on the other side of the bridge over there where the gravel bar is. So that's the problem over there. How are you going to go ahead and address that versus addressing making a boat ramp more stable over in the park?
I'm not sure what you're asking, Tim. So you're saying not to address the repairs with the boat ramp or not to consider moving the boat ramp? What are you?
I'm saying that the boat ramp as is right now is non-functional. And yeah, moving it would be a great deal. That'd be a good idea. But the reason why it's not working today is the gravel bar that is 50 yards upriver or 25 yards upriver. It's on the other side of the Clackamas River or the Highway 99 bridge. I mean, that gravel bar right there aims the river directly at that boat ramp right now. And that's why it doesn't work today, where it did work before a high water event that changed the course of the river.
I do know that when this information was brought to PrAC and City Commission before, there were some hydrology studies that were done and presented to PrAC and the City Commission. Obviously, we're going to work closely with the Marine Board on this plan moving forward. There's going to be a lot of engagement with the community to get feedback so we can present the most accurate information in regards to where that boat ramp needs to be. And we'll work with civil engineers as well in order to make the best decision possible.
All right, then we also got to look into the future just a little bit more. As the cove is going to be developed, as the property owners right there want to go ahead and develop the cove as a boatable area right there, that is going to change the access to getting into the cove. I mean, both upwater of the cove where they want to go ahead and put a water intake from the upper part of the cove and let it go out the bottom of the cove. I mean, we've got to think about how that whole thing is going to work and think a little bit further than just one step ahead of what's happening here. So I just wanted to make sure that you're considering that kind of longer term idea of the boat ramp right there.
Yes.
That seems more like an urban planning topic, isn't it?
It is. If you're going to go ahead and invest a couple $100,000, $500,000 into a boat ramp, might as well think further than a couple of years down the line. That's what I'm saying. Thank you.
Right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Tim. Go ahead, Brent.
All right. So sorry if my question's a little naive, a little elementary, but can somebody explain to me what this means by this property being condemned by ODOT?
That just allows them to have the property rights necessary to continue moving forward with the construction projects.
Okay.
That just provides them the rights to move forward.
But it's just a temporary condemnation, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Sean?
That was the piece that I missed, Kendall, was I thought the condemnation was they were taking permanent ownership of that land.
Oh, okay. No.
I want to just go back to Tim's comments. So Tim, the boat ramp topic came up, and I'll try to be really quick with this because it's pretty simple, I think. It started up in around 2013, and essentially it needed to be repaired. It was determined that it could be done fairly cheap, but it would only last 5 to 7 years, which we're past that. They came up with nearly $1 million price tag and only one place that it could be moved to on the entire Clackamas River in the John Storm area. The problem was that piece of property further down would consume 30 to 50% more of the open space in the park. Most city residents that I talked to, I believe all of Prac, were against losing a large amount of parkland for a boat ramp and the potential demonstrated need. So I think we're back to that again. So as you know, this is my second to the last Prac meeting. I think it's incumbent upon all of you to look as you go forward as to what the potential results are in that park when you change the boat ramp, because the Marine Board will not allow you to rebuild it in its current location. They will not fund it, and the city didn't have the money. It was like a 90-10 funding arrangement, and they were, at the time, they were trying to strong arm the city and saying, you need to do it now and make a decision within the next 18 months, or we won't even fund it. Well, here we are 7-8 years later, and we're talking about it again. So they want their boat ramp and they're going to offer to pay for it, or else we wouldn't be having this discussion. But it's really important. And your points, the Cove and all of that is valid too. But I think as Prac representatives, the key is, do we give up 30 to 50% more park space for asphalt for a ramp? And is that a fair trade? I mean, we don't need to make that decision tonight, but that's something to keep in mind.
Sean, thank you. Derek?
I was just wondering about the boat ramp in Clackamas, and a lot of this predates a lot of people here, but ever since I've been on this committee, we've been talking about this. What is this RFP, which I'm ignorant on what that stands for, can't remember, but what is going to change that we haven't rehashed over and over for the last so many years? What is the difference? Where are we going from here, from what we've already done ever since I've been on this committee talking about this issue?
Well, one of the issues that was brought to my attention right away was there was no public engagement. Marine Board didn't have very much say or input in the concepts or designs. There was some misinformation provided to Prac and the City Commission. We want to do a thorough examination of all of our options so we can present clear information in regards to what the future looks like for Clackamas Park. And this will allow us the opportunity to do that. So we're going to come up with concepts and designs that we're going to utilize to engage with the community about what they want to see. We'll work with Prac, we'll work with the City Commission, we'll work with the Marine Board. Everybody will be a part of this process, which was something that didn't happen before. So we can present the most accurate information to the City Commission moving forward with buy-in from the community. And so we can better meet the needs of the community moving forward.
That's cool.
Derek, anything else from you?
No, that's great.
Perfect. Okay. Karen, is your hand still up or do you have something else?
It went back up.
Okay.
I wanted to chime in with Sean. It's all his fault. This is why we're going to miss Sean. But also to everybody else, take note, in another year, Troy and I are gone. I'm surprised that we're now the old timers. But I think Kendall just satisfied a lot of my problems. This was supposed to go to a stakeholders meeting. There's an option to move the boat ramp farther west toward the Willamette. more pavement and whatever, which I'm not a huge fan of. But we need to hear from the fishermen, the stakeholders, the people that use it. And that was where it kind of got left and not brought back up again. So I'm glad to hear that that is on the list for things to be done before we move ahead, because the Marine Board has their opinion, but I think we need local opinion on the need for it, and will this actually work for you? The end.
All right, Karen, thank you. And just so, because it's a public meeting, for the record, I'm not an old timer. So let's make sure that's in
Yes,
the,
you are.
make sure that's in the notes, Kendall.
All right.
Any other questions or comments for Kendall and his staff report? Kendall, I think you have some more.
Yes, Denise.
Good evening again. It looks like we have another RFQ, request for qualifications, that is out for the West Good Neighbor Agreement project management services. We have an agreement with Wes for an area around kind of the Clackamas, Willamette, the Clackamas Park area, the Cove, River Trail access area, to do improvements. We garner a bit of money. It's not a set dollar amount, but it's roughly somewhere around $200,000 per year for 10 years. And we have a biennium plus some funds from previous year. They have a 3-year per year. So we get an allotment for a year. We have 3 years to spend it. So we have about 3 years of funding that needs to be spent. And with our current staffing resources, we're finding that we are getting behind on a lot of projects because of these natural weather events that we've had and some of the other demands on us, that we felt like as a department, there's a need for some assistance, outside assistance, to help us get through some of this. So this request for proposals is for that type of project with West Good Neighbor Agreement. It would be for this biennium to resolve the biennium funding, project scope, project coordination. And that would be submissions coming back to us November 5th. Depending on the negotiation for the contract, we would be evaluating the proposals or qualifications in this case, negotiate the contract, and then depending on the contract amount, going to commission December 1st to get an approval for that contract, and then moving into the projects as well as the project scope and the master schedule for this. And then other than that, facilities, we are going to be, well, our facilities division is 2.5 FTEs. We'll be down to 1.5 FTEs for about 6 to 8 weeks due to a medical leave. So we've put out a request to our departments to kind of just do essential facilities requests until we get back to full staffing. So we are going to be short staffed for a little bit. We had a kind of a rehearsal earlier in the year with the same type of issue. So we've kind of run through the scenario once, and I think we've got it still in hand for this upcoming medical leave. And then other than that, I think between First Street and the Clackamas Boat Ramp, I think all the updates are done on my behalf. Kendall, you're muted.
All right. Thanks, Denise. John?
Good evening. So, trees, leaves, and limbs. I thought that kind of summed a lot of what we've been doing lately up. It is leaf season. We have a lot of limbs that came down in the latest higher winds and rainstorm. We as a city are going to be working with the Friends of Trees. We are actively seeking volunteers. So if anyone on PrAC knows folks who enjoy getting to plant trees or know how to plant trees and are interested, they can go to the Friends of Trees website, which is friendsoftrees.org, and get signed up. The event's going to be Saturday, November 20th. We will be based out of Rivercrest Park. So there'll be a lot of, that's where they're going to be staging their trees and a lot of activity out of that park site that day. But they're also going to be helping us in replanting some trees on that site. And we're going to be working with them trying to see how many other tree sites we can help out with and find homes for more trees. So also they are seeking out other areas to plant trees. So if you know someone who could use a tree in their yard, that information is also available on their website. We're currently wrapping up soccer out in the parks. That'll be finishing up this weekend. We have a JROTC cleanup at Mountain View Cemetery tomorrow. So the high school doesn't have school, and the JROTC group is going to be coming tomorrow from 9 to noon and helping us clean up leaves and getting the cemetery ready for Veterans Day this next month. We also have a church group this Saturday that's going to be coming in and helping us do some cleanup as well. So really appreciative of all that help and support for helping to keep the cemetery looking good. As far as an update on the Veterans Memorial, I'm sure that most of you all know we received a nice donation of funds from the VFW Hall, which is going to be helping us to start our next phase of the Veterans Memorial. We're active. We just applied for one grant, and there's quite a few other possibilities for us to be receiving some additional funding to help get this project completed. So looking forward to continuing to move that project on. And beyond that, we've got a lot going on out in the parks. Very, very busy, surprisingly busy this time of year. You know, most of the time you think rainy season, it's going to start slowing down. We actually received phone calls today for people who were wanting to schedule shelter reservations. And I think this has a lot to do with the pandemic. People are less likely to be holding events inside. And so it's been tasking we as a staff a lot more frequently. Our seasonal staff is mostly all done for the season. So trying to have coverage for weekends and making sure that sites and facilities are good and ready to go. The RV park has been extremely busy this last month. And then in case anyone is wondering, we're also, we have a filming crew who is using the end of the Oregon Trail as their laydown area while they are filming in Oregon City. So if you happen to drive by end of the Oregon Trail and wonder what that is, that's what's going on. But yeah, just a lot going on in the parks right now, but a lot of good things, and just trying to get everything in good shape heading into winter.
The other thing that I'd like to bring to your attention is we had Coin6 come by the other day to do a story on the donation that was given by VFW. They interviewed Commander Arnold, talked about the renovation, interviewed Jenny, who's been leading up this project. So kudos to VFW for their support. And we hope to get some additional attention and some additional donations for the renovation. All right, Kathy.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see you all. So happy almost Halloween. The Pioneer Center will be having a Halloween movie tomorrow night with scary treats. It's Bela Lugosi's Dracula. We're going old school. And we've had a nice response for our RSVPs, so we're looking forward to that. Our annual appeal letter went out just a couple weeks ago, and we were a little concerned because we hadn't been getting a lot of response back, which was pretty unusual, until we found out that the mail carriers, they're understaffed, and so we just got a humongous pile of those today, which we have not counted. But in our annual appeal, generally we highlight Meals on Wheels. This year, not only did we do Meals on Wheels, we also asked for donations for the Veterans Memorial that John and his crew are working so hard on. The Pioneer Center felt that was something we could really support. We love our veterans. And there's been a little bit of response. So we're hoping with this new pile of mail, we'll see even bigger response. Our Christmas wreath sales are out and going strong. That again is a program, a fundraising program for our meals. Let's see what else we got here. Social services are really ramping up. We've hired a second bus driver because our transportation program was getting quite busy. We've started dine outs and trips again with our seniors. It's fairly limited. Some places we can't really go in due to the mask mandate. So we're a little hamstrung by some of that masking requirements, but we're getting around as best we can. We're doing low income energy assistance right now, which keeps us really busy. We're also collecting donations for holiday food baskets, and we'll be putting those together. Our meal numbers are the highest that we've ever had in the history of our functioning at this site. We're currently continuing to utilize the frozen meals rather than hot meals because the county is paying for those, which is about a $50,000 annual savings to us. So we're gonna take that savings, and our clients have been pretty happy with the frozen meals. We are looking for our Thanksgiving preparations already. We're going to be working with the church for hot meal delivery. St. John's across the street will be delivering hot meals to our clients. And we are doing pretty well with basement rentals and our upstairs rentals with some pretty big 200 plus people rentals, which is great considering the COVID numbers. We are a little short-staffed due to some illnesses. So we're sending good thoughts out to those folks and hoping they'll be back soon. We've also had the film crew wanting to rent our parking lot, which is great. We'll take it. We've ordered some new chairs for the dining room, and we're waiting on a new HVAC system, which is floating on a boat somewhere. So forever waiting. Floating with my Christmas presents I've ordered. So we've got many things to look forward to. That's it. The end.
Thanks, Kathy. All right, Melissa.
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Yeah, like Kendall said, Melissa, Sebastian, I know I've met some of you guys and excited to be back here and acting as the aquatic and rec manager for the time period, and excited to talk to you guys about what we've got coming up. Really busy time in the aquatic and recreation world. We're continuing to bring on more staff and getting back to full staffing and programs with our swimming lessons. And I have some lifeguard training classes that I'll be offering in a couple of weeks to get more staff certified and onboarded in those efforts. we have our swamp swim event that we've done annually that we will be doing tomorrow night and Saturday night. Historically, we've done that just one night, but we're going to split it into two this year to help spread people out with the ongoing pandemic. We also have another aquatic special event in November. On November 19th, we're adding back in our glow swims that we've done. And our first one will be on November 19th, and we're taking pre-registration for that. We're hiring or doing camp training for all of our camp staff as we're gearing up for winter break camps in December. So that'll be taking place this upcoming month. And then we're excited to get our high school swim team season is starting in a couple of weeks. So we'll be getting a lot more people in while we gear up for that. That'll be starting here on the week of November 15th. And then I am also excited to say that we had our new recreation programmers start this week with the Ermitinger House. We ended up hiring Holly Swagger as our new recreation programmer, and she started on Tuesday. And so we're really excited to get tours back up and running and doing some events and programs in addition to what our friends group is also helping us out with. And then that's all that's what I've got.
All right, thanks, Melissa. I'll end our update with some great news. I should have started off with this. Our cost recovery methodology, master fee schedule, and resolution passed on October 20th at the City Commission meeting. So I'd just like to congratulate my staff for all their efforts and their hard work in getting us over the finish line. This is great for the department. We now will start our process of implementing our communication plan and getting that information out to the community, engaging with our stakeholders, and making them aware of these changes. So kudos to my team for all their efforts and all their hard work. But we're really excited to announce that did pass at the last City Commission meeting.
Excellent. Thank you, Kendall. You willing to field some questions?
Sure.
Karen?
Just a quick to Denise. Wes, Water Environmental Services.
Correct.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm used to the acronyms. My apologies.
Yes. And I have something more under member reports, but I'll settle for this.
Tim?
So Kendall, you just said that you are going to go and do the parks master plan for the next, is it year or 2 years? Next month or December.
Are you asking how long it takes?
No, are you going to present on December for the parks master plan?
I wouldn't be able to present. The plan is to put out the RFP and select the consultant who's going to be doing the master plan for us. And that process then takes a year to a year and a half to complete. So,
Okay.
all right.
Okay, just wondered what that is, what it entails, what are you going to ask for, all that kind of stuff. But it sounds like we are way early on that
Yes.
process.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I got. Thanks.
All right.
All right, thank you, Tim. And moving along, we've got member reports, and if you look at your agenda, you'll see there's a time for future agenda items. So let's not do that during our reports. Our reports is time just to give a report. No dialogue. Going across the screen, Tim, do you have a report to give?
No dialogue. Come on, Troy. We got to add something here. Okay. So a current event that just happened is planning of a new development that's going to happen in the Homes right by what is it, Barclay School on Holmes Lane. There's the Sears Farm development. All right, that's 140 units that are going in, and the developer has 2.5 acres set aside as greenlands to go ahead and give to the city. And as I understand it, the city said, no, we don't want anything that's a pocket park because it's going to take too much development to go ahead or too much to take care of and all that kind of stuff. So this is a Kendall question. It's like, okay, how do we get ahead of this? I mean, here there's developments that are being planned by developers, and is this even before things are being developed by developers? Is this something that when property is annexed by the city, is that when the Parks Department goes ahead and say, hey, we want that much set aside for a park or trails or whatever it takes right there? So in regards to this parks and getting ahead of the curve so that we do have a way to plan on park allotment in new developments, how do you see that happening, Kendall? I mean, how do we do that so that we're assured that in the most underparked part of the city, that Holmes Lane area, that how can we go ahead and make sure that we have parks and trails that we can go ahead and count on?
So before we go there, I think that wasn't really a report, Tim. Report is a time just for us to announce something that's happening and let the community know. So that was actually, we're going to move that to future agenda item. So I think it's an important discussion to have, but it doesn't belong right here. And because it's not on the agenda for the city, the public to have an opportunity to chime in or listen, it's not appropriate for us to have that discussion, which can certainly seem like, a surprise to those that might be interested. So let's put it as a future agenda item for December 2nd, because I think it's a very important topic. Sean, do you have a report for us? Karen, do you have a report?
I do. And Tim, it's Holcomb Avenue, not Holmes Lane. Big difference. Give me a call. All right. So the only thing I had to add was I went to the city commission meeting when the VFW presented their check. Wonderful turnout from the VFW, including Sean. What we haven't heard so far, it was a $12,000 check. This is from an organization that is doing their own repairs to their own building. I was overwhelmed after, I don't even want to say how many years trying to get this done. And I really, truly, truly want to thank staff. There is all kinds of staff and money involved in demolition and what's been done so far. We really haven't reached out to our local businesses, and I'm going to give a guesstimate from some figures I've gotten. We're looking at needing about another $100,000. There are some other grants. I'm helping staff try to locate grants. It's really about 130, but some of that can be staff labor, which will give us a match to a grant. But if you know a local business or a local veterans group that would be willing to contribute, we are going to have a gorgeous Veterans Memorial when this is done. And that's all I have to say on that.
Karen, thank you very much for that. Derek, do you have a report? I'm going to assume that's a no, and if you do, certainly chime in. Brent, do you have a report for us?
Nope, no report.
And Andy, do you have a report?
Nope.
Okay. Future agenda item. We've got one from Tim Kendall. I hope you noted that. And rather than go around, just raise your hand if you've got a future agenda item we'd like to get on next month's agenda. Anything? Tim, you got a different one, another one?
Yes, I do. I want to update on Newell Canyon Park and what's happening with that. And
Opens in December.
okay. Yeah, October is now December. All right, that's good.
I just got that update yesterday, so
it's good.
Tim, is that sufficient for you, or do you need more?
No, that's what I need to know.
Okay, all right. Anybody else? Okay, next meeting, as we agreed, is December 2nd, 7 PM. At this point, virtual meeting. And meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Have a good night.
I can't make that one. I'm at a wedding.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Bye, everybody.
Mhm.